Hello and welcome to Behind the Bearcat. This is the podcast where the Northwest Missouri State University Career Services Office chats with Northwest faculty, staff, students, alumni, and friends to hear about their career journeys, how they got to where they are, and how they became Bearcats. I'm Northwest Internship Coordinator Travis Klein.
And I'm Hannah Christian, the Director of Career Services here at Northwest. And today's guest on our show is...
Hi, I am Adrian James. I'm the Associate Dean of Undergraduate Studies in the College of Management at Park University, also an Associate Professor of Management.
All right. Welcome. We're very happy to have you as a guest on our show today. All right, Travis, take it away. I hear that inhalation, which
right. So you work at Park University. I think you're actually our first guest who works at a different university than Northwest. So always happy to chat with colleagues from other schools. So tell us about being a Bearcat. So you went to Northwest, got a degree from here. You want to tell us a little bit about that story?
So good. I stayed in school for my entire life. So Northwest, I guess I have them to thank for being an education. I did. So started in '99, undergrad in industrial and organizational psychology. I think I started undecided, even liked business, liked psychology. Thankful to a faculty, probably can't name them, that said, "Did you know we have this degree?" And I looked and I was like, wow, this is a perfect fit. And graduated and I said, well, what are, the career path? Where would I go? And it would have been HR. I'm like, well, it's not bad, but I like school, look at a master's. And so
can you tell us, so maybe, I'm sorry to interrupt what I do. Can you tell us what industrial and organizational psychology is for those of us who may not know?
Sure. If I had went and got my master's in that, it would be a lot of consulting, right? So there's two sides of it for the the soft skills and the hard skills of just making organizations function better. So a lot of folks that would work at Deloitte or the top companies would be IO Psych folks. So a lot of the human behavior, which in my PhD later is kind of the route I went of studying some of those org behavior classes, or you could go the hard side, which I did some of with like your Six Sigma and your number side of having organizations function better. So, consultant might come in and say, I always joke the office, we have three bosses. So Bob and Bob, they were probably organizational, maybe, psychology, in a very casual way to say that. So
sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
No, that's okay. Yeah. I actually just talked to a student the other day and I said, they weren't here. And I said, oh, did you know about, they were looking at the masters. And so I was steering them. I said, I like business, but I like this side. Okay. So anyway, so then I finished, and the way it sets it up, you could go into like clinical psychology, almost like get your master's, or you could get an MBA. So I chose the MBA and went in the summer, did that in about a year and a half. Had a graduate assistantship position with the student life there. So I don't know if they still have Thursday nights at the Union, but
sometimes. Okay. I think they still do it okay. They do all kinds of programming throughout the year, and they're always trying to throw new stuff and see what sticks. So I think they've done that recently. Yeah.
So I was the one that was standing in the hallway trying to get folks to do that. Turns out I loved higher ed and everything about it. Had a great mentors through that program, and so I said, well, I want to be in higher ed, even though I was getting some job offers elsewhere. I turned them down to go to Texas A&M to finally get one that I'm pretty sure, I don't think I'm misremembering. Cerner was one of my offers. And many of my MBA friends went to become amazing analysts, right, at Cerner. Mine would have lined up more with an HR job. I remember saying no, having a brief stint somewhere, and then heading to Texas A&M and never looking back, and having just then that took me to the Middle East, and I don't know how far you want me.
We're happy to hear all about it. So, but how did you pick your program? So how did you pick Texas A&M?
That was where I got a job there after. So I was working there for 4 years. And then I'd always knew I think I wanted to get a PhD. I remember sitting in class in Northwest, and they have phenomenal instructors, right? I can, and so engaging in the smaller school and remembering how I just really liked that. And so while I was at Texas A&M, I was like, well, I guess it's time. I was in a good spot in my career where I could do both. Texas A&M was very supportive. At the time, I was working in the Learning Center, the Academic Success Center, and took classes on the side. So I didn't go full time. Well, I went full time, but and then I could have went business, but I chose it's leadership, education, communications. And then I took my electives for my PhD in the May School of Business in HR or org behavior. So still that people side, IO psych type stuff, but I didn't do my degree in Mays.
So what would you say was what did you do your dissertation on? And what would you say is your biggest passion in that area?
My dissertation, it was on the relationship between leadership and learning. So I did a lot of, I was in the Academic Success Center, and so I was super passionate about just learning in general. And so I thought, is there any sort of relationship between how we lead and how we learn? And found some, not much. It was a pretty small sample size. I was actually living in the Middle East at the time I was doing my dissertation. So that part of my program, my advisor, if she watches this, thank you for flying out and to the Middle East and sitting at the table with me to finish that. And most passionate about, I think people enjoying work, right? People are so different, and we spend mostly 8 hours a day. Remote work has changed this around these folks who can be very different. And I think it goes back to my IO psych background of what changes can we make structurally, process, and procedural to make people's jobs easier, more enjoyable, not easier, more efficient, more effective. And then also as humans, what can we do to work together, in a more enjoyable way, right? How to be a good leader. Those types of the students I had. I just had one from my time at Purdue Northwest message me, and he was having some stuff, and he said, I just remember if you feel like you don't enjoy working with someone, take them to lunch and find something that you like about them. And I'm like, okay, do you remember anything else? That's the thing that they remember.
That's solid advice, though. That really is good advice for not just work, but really life. When you don't get along with someone, break bread with them, have a conversation, get to know them as people, and you'll find that those differences kind of minimize pretty quickly. You mentioned working and living in the Middle East. Was that through Texas A&M that you went there, like a satellite campus or a different job, or where did you go and how did you get there?
So I was at a conference, and I sat by a woman and at a lunch, I remember, and she was chatting with me. She kept asking questions, and about a week later, I get a phone call, and she says, "You want to come work for me in the in Doha, Qatar, at the Texas A&M campus out there?" And I was looking, it was at that time where it was time for me to grow, and so I looked and I went, and I was there about 4 years I worked in the Academic Success Center, taught lower level, like how to learn classes, but then actually got to do some cross-cultural training. So I did some train the trainers on cross-cultural communication and leadership. And you can read about that all day, but until you live it, and you see the concepts come alive, but until you truly live it, it's amazing. So I got to do some training out there as well, and that was really wonderful. And then a lot of traveling. I think in the 4 years I went to right at 30 countries. And full transparency, Qatar was the first stamp on my passport. Well, I had actually never been abroad it different things stop, and then the next thing I know, I'm living in the Middle East and embracing all of it and living.
The moral of the story I'm pulling out of this is Travis said you should go break bread with someone if maybe you're not getting along with them. But the moral I hear is be careful who you break bread with because you might be working with them.
Yes. So now my huge passion, I did not study abroad when I was at Northwest. I worked a lot. I wish I would have been more involved. I really do. Still the most amazing experience. I remember years after college thinking, does it get better? Does it get better than college? And that, because I had a really, really great experience at Northwest. I remember walking on the campus for my campus visit when making a choice and being like, this is right. And it was. So now I've taken some students to study abroad. And so that's been phenomenal to watch them be nervous about spending the money or leaving home and then coming and saying, can I go with you on your next trip? And so huge passion for helping students, break.
What were some of the, oh, sorry to interrupt
No, you
again.
go ahead.
What were some of the biggest things so in doing that cross-cultural training, what were some of the biggest things that you learned or some of the most powerful things that you felt like you developed during that time?
I don't know. I remember reading about differences, but then a full appreciation, I guess, of those differences. And I learned more about myself and became a way better communicator. I remember really making mistakes, even though I knew, like, if someone wouldn't look me in the eye, as simple as that, I would feel, even though I knew certain cultures don't with the female, it still felt very personal. And so I guess a big one was to just not take things personal, right? Even though easier said than done sometimes. But I think just a greater appreciation to learn and listen, and to more, I kind of knew myself, or what maybe as a leader, what where I might have sensitivities that I have to be, or biases that I might have to be careful about.
So what brought you back to the US after being, abroad and having that amazing experience and traveling? What brought you back to the States?
While it is enjoyable, I was ready just to come back and like be a little closer to home and uh, more family, and just, it was really good. Sometimes I'm like, could I live abroad again? That adventurous piece, but mostly I'd experienced that there are complications, right, of living in these places, and I was ready to come. It was 137 degrees, I think, or feels like that was kind of rare.
Where are you from originally?
North of here, so east of St. Joe, Gower or Easton would be the area. And so I don't know, would it take me an hour to get to Northwest? And then most of family and friends had migrated to Kansas City. So it's been great to be close to my niece and nephew, brother, sister-in-law. She went to Park University, so, a tie there.
So how did you get to Park?
I was job searching. So after I went to Purdue Northwest for a few years after, which was a great experience, grew my career, my mentors. I couldn't be more thankful. It was so difficult to leave, but my heart was in Kansas City, where a bunch of my family was. I was looking for jobs, and Park posted when it was a chair position. So I was like, oh, people had always said, you're going to go into administration. I said, so it's ready. My sister-in-law graduated from Park, had known and so I took it out, and I took a look and I was selected. So that was, and then this last year, promoted to associate dean.
Okay, so you took originally a chair position and were in a chair role for how long?
3 years. And then last year got 10 year was effective, 10-year promotion, and tenure and promotion to associate professor was effective August 1st, and then associate dean of undergrad studies also August 1st.
Gotcha. So talk to us about being chair. What was that experience like?
Was good. It was good, you know. It was
In the middle of a pandemic, right? I mean,
some of it, yeah, was home. I think it's really, we navigated pretty well to being remote. A lot of our classes were geared ready the way Park is structured to be online. And it was just the getting used to the communications with Zoom and the dogs that bark in the background, which, you know, it happens, right? The kids that might be there, and to really have a lot of grace that everyone, you know, we were in the same situation, but different, right? So it was created for the same reason, but caused different complications. So I think a lot of empathy and patience and understanding and trusting that people will get their work done, right? And they do. Our faculty are very supportive of the students. So there were lots of moments of, you know, it's really cool when the students are like, I just want to extra thank this professor for going above and beyond. You know, I had COVID or this or that. So that was really great. And then lots of juggling on Zoom, but then some prefer texting on the phone, some prefer Teams. And so just kind of going with whatever. So there would be moments where my phone would text and ring, someone with Teams, and then I get an email. But I live for that stuff. So that was.
What was it like to manage faculty during COVID? As chair, you're kind of you have your team of faculty, and you're a faculty member as well, so you're teaching. But what's it like to? I can just imagine some of the conversations, being in charge of faculty who are trying to teach and trying to help them through their problems. What was that like from that side? I mean, the students totally get that. We did that as well, and that experience. Students are students, so it doesn't matter if it's Zoom or in person. But faculty, those are different cats sometimes. So.
Think because all of our the way it's structured, all of our faculty had taught online before. So there wasn't a huge adjustment to then teaching the classes online. So I'm trying now that, it's like I forgot that whole year because now the adjustment is going back because that was a bigger adjustment. Because I was like, oh, I have to navigate my time. This is not just, oh, I have 2 minutes before my Zoom meeting. I'll just leave my camera off. No big deal, and jump on. I don't know if I know how to answer that question. Because I didn't feel a huge, it was just keeping the communication open, right? And I don't know if I can answer what it was.
I think you hit on a big point that a lot of us, on campus here, students and staff and faculty have talked about how much more difficult it seemed like going back to normal would be easy, right? But once you get adjusted to a certain way of communicating, whether it's I prefer to text, and so now I'm texting someone, it's really kind of difficult to come back to the pre-COVID sort of normal of being in the same space and seeing each other face to face. And oh, I can't make it to Faust in 2 minutes because that's actually all the way across campus. But now my whole idea of time and Zoom meetings have kind of altered the way that I think about time. And I think we have noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
It's students are struggling to kind of get back into the rhythm of the face-to-face things that one time was it was just normal and natural. Nobody ever thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I've heard some pushback on going back to the rigidity of how classes sometimes have to be. Classes meet at certain times, and that asynchronous Zoom university that a lot of us did for a while, like that doesn't work when you're back in person. And that's, once you've had that freedom, it's hard to take it away. There's that old HR saying that anything you give, you can't ever take away. Well, we've had to do that a little bit, and that's hard sometimes. So yeah, but having faculty that already knew how to teach online, I'm sure was easy, because if you don't have to teach them how to log into their email and then turn on their camera, right, it's so much easier. So yeah.
Everyone had already used Canvas. This was our shell. So in the College of Management, because all of our classes our online presence is much bigger than our on campus. And so I think that's probably why I like, yeah, the adjustment to going back. Yes, the time, I thought the Middle East ruined me for time because it did a little, but I was still good about being early to a meeting. And now I'm like, oh, yep, okay. Just, and if people are late to my meetings, I used to care, and now I'm like, oh, hey.
So what's it like being associate dean? So that's, that's a whole different level. And those that aren't inside baseball and, college academic folks, what do you do as an associate dean?
I love it. Someone had said, it's one of the better roles you can have in academic leadership. And we did a big reorg, and so there's 2 new chairs, and they're just wonderful. And so I look a lot at curriculum and improving curriculum, and I answer different questions, and I get to see the big picture of things, right? So I had my department before, and now it's all the areas and the different questions. And then we have program coordinators who are the experts. So it's when that stuff comes to me, it's, saying, you're the expert, what do you think? But then I like to see and make sure it doesn't impact over here, right? So you have the overarching, and then just making sure the chairs have what they need, because now they're each have, multiple faculty coming to them. And so I have really been enjoying this role a lot in terms of, I'm all about thinking about resources, and who do we have going up for tenure and what do they need? Do we have any that want to go up from associate to full? Even if that's the chair, they're still kind of new. So thinking for that, but I quite enjoy thinking about our accreditation and new programs. We got a business analytics program coming up that we're very excited about, making sure that goes smooth, and that our online courses, are created in a way that engage the students, which will be an ongoing for everyone, right? The more technology, the more those students coming in from high school. I always wonder, when am I going to be outdated in my, I'm pretty good. The students tell me still that I have classes. Well, here's the cheat app. And I'm like, okay, good. I like the open students. They're wonderful.
Yeah, we get lots of tutorials here as well on whatever thing that they're working on, or where they search, or whatever resume generator they've found on the web that is making the latest and greatest resume, for example. But we have to ask them what's going on, because they truly know. But it seemed like your PhD work, or your research interests do really line up with what happens at that type of level, right? Like an associate provost level, where you're really trying to figure out how to make work better, like make people want to be at work, and how to enjoy your work, right?
Yes. And I'm thankful, and I've read a lot of books, and I do really cool things. Like I work with the chiefs, small brag moment of the employees, and we do some books, and I, one of them, they talk about the walking and the thinking a lot. So now I have a dog that I love that's fairly high maintenance, that gets WALKED every morning. And so I walk and just reflect on those different topics, from people to, we have an instructor that wants to do some service learning. So getting her plugged in with the chamber, because I'm on the board of the Chamber of Commerce. And so where can we move these pieces to, again, efficiency and effectiveness is always, so those walks have been, yeah. So I do reflect a lot and think, well, how all the experiences, came around to really benefit. And I've had lots of different roles in higher ed, I think. So even from my time as the graduate assistantship, back in the day, and then higher ed forever. And then I do some training. I haven't done it in a while, but I did some leadership training on the side at one point. But I don't have time for it. My focus now is art. That keeps me plenty busy.
what types of advice, we're always looking for people's advice on maybe if you're looking for a new job, and I think you have an interesting sort of like, are you making a career change? Are you a new student? Like, what types of career wisdom do you have that you could share with us? Hard earned, hard gained career wisdom.
Oh, I love to talk about this one in class because you know the students always look at the dollar sign, and I tell them this will come. It was from I remember being offered. I swear it's been years ago. The job at Cerner and the one at Texas A&M was about, it was 16 or $18,000 difference. So that I took to go and do what I wanted to do. And then the next thing I know, a few years later, I'm in the Middle East, tripling my salary, you know, and then but all along enjoying what I do. And I know that's so cliche, not, but I really, especially there's a student I'm chatting with now and she's getting different offers. She's amazing, you know, and I you know, make sure you're asking the company that the values align and is it something that you want to do? And I think a lot about how you guys know this better than I do. There's more job jumping now than there used to be. And like sometimes I encourage that though, because I'll have students come to me and they'll tell me about their boss, even for their part-time job. I'm like, no, like I can help you get another job. I will help you because, you know, this is, you know, not okay. So I think the biggest advice is just to, you know, being purposeful and not just chasing that dollar sign. And then I understand. I was a first generation student. I paid for college myself. I know looking and thinking of student loans and such, but once you get to a certain amount, that doesn't start to matter. And so I think looking at the company and their values, and is that what you were looking for?
Yeah, it's so nice to hear other people say the stuff we say, because we always tell the students that, when I do interviews, mock interviews with students, it's, this is your time to interview them as much as them to interview you, because if you don't want to work there, all the money in the world does not make a job workable if it's not something you enjoy. And, we work with people who are in those situations and they can't get out fast enough. So yeah, I think that's awesome advice to, do what you want to do, and then the money will come later if you're good at it. So.
And I do think one of the benefits, you mentioned higher ed forever. I mean, I can't think of anyone who's here for the money. Like, so, I mean, we're living that every day. Like, we don't come to work because we make the highest salary, right? We come to work, we have a job. We come to career services every day because we love being here. That is literally why we come to work every day. I'm speaking for my team. Sorry, Travis, you can speak up on your own, but that's not a benefit that you can pay for. You can't, there's no money in the world that's going to buy love for your work.
Yeah. And your energy is better, and you have, I think, just overall, quality. I don't say quality of life, because, and it's different for everyone. Some people really, they want the money, right? And then that's the thing, that's the priority. But I think that starts to lose, yeah, I think I was offered 3 non-higher ed jobs. And I remember being so young. I can't believe I turned it down. I was like, no, like, because I remember also, I'm like, it's not what I want to do. So I don't want to quit. Looking back, thinking, because I went through kind of fast, being so young. And so like, no, though, I'm going to go with my debt and make, but I loved it. I mean, it was the best. I was 7 years in College Station, 4 in the Middle East, 3 at Purdue Northwest. And then back here with these experiences and, enjoying what I do with all this, growth and different view of the world and religions and healing and all of that has been so impactful. So.
Any last words, Travis?
No, I was just gonna, thank you for your time today. We appreciate it. It's awesome to speak with someone who has, a different perspective than we have here on our campus. So nice to talk to a pirate Bearcat who works at Park. so thank you for your time, Dr. James. We really appreciate it. Yeah, lots of them. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thank you, guys.
All right, well, that will do it for another episode of Behind the Bearcat. We'll talk to you next time. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed that episode. Don't forget that you can find the audio version of the podcast on your podcast platform of choice. New episodes come out every Friday, and you can connect with us on social media on both Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for joining us for Behind the Bearcat, and we'll talk to you next time.